Israeli security officials tell ABC News their latest attack was precise, intelligence-based, and aimed at terror targets. However, UNICEF says 130 children were killed in the bombing. That's the highest number of child casualties in a single day. So let's talk about this latest offensive with ABC News contributor and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, Mick Mulroy. Thank you so much, Mick, for joining us. Mick, we were on the air last night when the strikes began again in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu cited Hamas not releasing more hostages as a justification for ending the ceasefire. But didn't Hamas release the hostages as agreed for phase one?
So they did, Stephanie. The question was, now was the time to go into the second phase of the ceasefire, and Israel wasn't ready to do it. They simply did not want to take the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, out of Gaza, as is required in the second phase. So the U.S. and Israel proposed to Hamas that they extend the first phase, which of course would bring more hostages out. Palestinian prisoners would be released, and humanitarian aid would go in at scale, which is currently not happening. So that would be what I think Israel and the United States would like to see, and I think, quite frankly, the people of Gaza. But Hamas apparently rejected that offer, wanting to stay instead to the original plan to go into the second phase.
So let's talk about the strikes. What do you think? Are these strikes ordered by Netanyahu overnight designed as pressure, perhaps, so Hamas will release remaining hostages? Or is this the Make Gaza Uninhabitable operation pushed by military hawks in Israel?
Stephanie, I think right now Gaza is essentially uninhabitable. I think most, up to 90% of the dwellings there are destroyed beyond really livability. There's no humanitarian aid going in, so no food. The electricity is cut off, so they cannot even make clean water with their desalination plants. But I do think if you look at it, we had 2 months of a ceasefire. That means that the Israeli intelligence didn't have to stop. So they probably were trying to find Hamas leaders, certain strong points of Hamas. So they were ready to go when the ceasefire broke, and it broke. And that's what I think led to all these strikes. Obviously, Israel is going to go after terrorists. They do have a responsibility under international law to mitigate any damage to civilians. The question is, what exactly did happen? Because it's very difficult to get accurate information on what the strikes did.
Yeah, some really a very difficult situation there. The White House says it was consulted ahead of Israel's new offensive and supported their decision. So what do we know about how long these attacks are likely to continue and what the role of the U.S. will be?
So I think it is meant to send a message to Hamas that this is only going to intensify and get worse for them if they do not at least allow the first phase to be extended again, which comes with hostages coming out and humanitarian aid going in. If that doesn't happen, then this could be the beginning of a whole new phase of this conflict where the IDF will focus very heavily on the leadership, of course, of Hamas, which has already been decimated, but also the fighting capability, which includes their fighters and their arsenals, which they probably haven't depleted entirely, even with the amount of time that they've been in Gaza. But I think that's what the IDF will focus on, unless there is some breakthrough in negotiations, even moving forward to the second phase or extending the first phase. That's really what needs to happen.
Okay, we'll see how this develops. ABC News contributor and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, Mick Mulroy. Thank you so much, Mick. Appreciate your time.